The first time Barry White noticed him, he thought it was a coincidence. Front row, center section. A man in his 60s, completely still, wearing dark glasses and holding a white cane across his lap. Beside him, a woman of roughly the same age, her hand resting on his arm, her face turned toward the stage with the particular attention of someone experiencing something on behalf of two people. Barry White noticed them the way performers notice things in the front row, peripherally, without stopping, the information filed without interrupting the work. He did not think about them again that night. The second time he was in Detroit, different venue, different city, same front row, same center section, same man with the white cane and the dark glasses and the complete stillness of someone who is not watching but is doing something else entirely with the music coming off the stage. Same woman beside him, hand on his arm, face toward Barry White, eyes carrying something he could not read from the stage but could feel from it. Barry White missed a word, mid-lyric. The first time in 4 years of performing that he had missed a word because something in the audience had pulled him out of the song. He recovered immediately. The audience did not notice. But after the show, in the car back to the hotel, Barry White asked Calvin if he had seen the couple in the front row. "The man with the cane?" Calvin said. "Yes." Calvin thought about it. "I think I've seen them before," he said. "Chicago, maybe. Or the show in Cleveland." Barry White did not ask about them again. Not that night. Not for a long time after. But he started looking for them. At every show, in the first moments after walking onto the stage, before the music started and the performance took over, he would find the front row and he would look. Sometimes they were there, sometimes they were not. There was no pattern he could identify, no logic to which cities, which venues, which shows. They simply appeared. Front row, center section, the man with the cane, the woman with her hand on his arm. Always the same, always still. Always there in a way that was different from the way the rest of the front row was there. Barry White performed 200 nights a year. He was meticulous about the work, about the arrangements, the sound levels, the specific quality of attention he brought to each room, regardless of the room's size or the city it was in, or the fatigue that 200 nights accumulates in a body. He believed that the people in the seats had given him something by being there, their time, their money, the specific trust of showing up to a room and expecting to feel something, and that the only appropriate response to that gift was to give the performance as if it were the only one. As if this room, this night, these people were the entire reason the music existed. He had held this belief since the first time he performed, and had never found a reason to revise it. But the man in the front row with the white cane, the man who could not see the stage, who could not see the lights or the orchestra or Barry White himself moving through the performance, was making Barry White understand something about his own belief that he had not previously understood. It was 1977, 5 years after the first time. The Forum in Los Angeles. Barry White's home venue, the room he knew better than any other room, the audience that knew him the way a room knows a person who has returned to it enough times that the returning itself becomes part of the relationship. They were in the front row. He saw them when he walked out. He had learned by then not to let the seeing of them interrupt the performance, had learned to file the information and let the work take over. But that night, something was different. The woman's face. He saw it in the first moment, the same moment he always saw it, the peripheral flash of the front row before the music started, and the woman's face was not the face it usually was. She had been crying, recently, and for a long time. The specific evidence of grief that does not fully resolve before the next thing is required of you, the redness, the careful composure constructed over something that is not finished. Barry White went into the performance. The music took over. 2 hours and 20 minutes of the work that the room had come for. But he did not forget her face. After the show, Barry White told Calvin he wanted to speak with the couple in the front row. Calvin had stopped being surprised by requests like this several years earlier. He found them in the lobby, making their way toward the exit. The man with the white cane, the woman guiding him with her hand on his arm, moving with the practiced ease of people who have navigated a long time together. Calvin approached them. He explained that Barry White would like to meet them if they had a moment. The woman looked at him. Her composure held, but only just. "He noticed us?" she said. "He's been noticing you for 5 years," Calvin said. Barry White met them backstage in the corridor outside his dressing room. The man's name was Walter Briggs. He was 64 years old. He had been blind since the age of 31, a degenerative condition that had taken his sight gradually over the course of 4 years, and then completely on a Tuesday morning in 1944, in a way that his doctors had been unable to prevent, and that Walter had spent the 33 years since learning to live with, in the specific and ongoing way that loss requires. The woman's name was Ruth, his wife of 41 years. She was the one who had been crying. Barry White shook Walter's hand. "I've seen you at my shows," Barry White said. Walter smiled. "I know," he said. "Ruth tells me you look for us." Barry White glanced at Calvin. Calvin looked at the ceiling. "How many shows?" Barry White asked. Walter thought about it. "Ruth?" he said. Ruth considered. 41, she said. "Since 1973. Barry White looked at them. A man who could not see him. A woman who had brought that man to 41 concerts over 5 years and had sat beside him with her hand on his arm and her face toward the stage, and had been, Barry White now understood, his eyes. "Why?" Barry White asked, not rudely, the way you ask someone a question when you have been holding it for 5 years and have finally been given permission to ask it. Walter was quiet for a moment. "I was a musician," he said. "Before. Piano mostly, some organ. I played in churches, in clubs, nothing significant. But I loved the work. The way music is built, the architecture of it." He paused. "When I lost my sight, I thought I had lost the music. Not because I couldn't hear it, I could always hear it. But I thought what I had loved was the playing, and without the sight to read, without the hands that knew the keys by their relationship to each other." He stopped. "I thought it was gone," he said. "Then Ruth brought me to one of your shows, 1973, the Chicago Amphitheater." Barry White remembered it, not the couple, he had not noticed them yet in 1973, but the show. A good night, the kind of night where the music found something beyond the performance. "I sat in the front row," Walter said, "and I listened. And the bass line," he smiled, a smile that arrived the way old memories arrive, suddenly from somewhere specific. "The bass line of Can't Get Enough. I felt it. Not heard, felt, in my chest, in my hands, in the part of me that used to play. That was why the front row, Barry White said. That was why the front row, Walter said. Close enough to feel it. Close enough that the music isn't just sound anymore. It's physical. It's the closest I can get to playing again. Barry White stood in the corridor for a long moment after Walter finished. He looked at Ruth. She was watching her husband with the expression of a woman who has heard this said before and has not yet found a way to hear it without it costing her something. "Tonight," Barry White said to her, "your face, when I walked out. Something happened." Ruth looked at him. She took a breath. "Walter's health," she said carefully. "We've had some news this week. His heart. The doctors are—" She stopped. "We didn't know if this would be—" She stopped again. Walter reached for her hand, found it without looking. "She wanted to come anyway," Walter said. "She always wants to come." Barry White went back into his dressing room. He was in there for 7 minutes. Calvin waited outside and did not knock. When Barry White came out, he was carrying something. A cassette tape, a rough mix not yet released, a recording from a session 3 weeks earlier. He handed it to Ruth. "This is a song I haven't finished yet," he said. "The arrangement isn't done. My voice cracks in the second chorus and we haven't fixed it. It's not ready." He looked at Walter. "But I want you to have it, because I think you'll hear what it's trying to be before it knows how to be it yet. I think you'll hear the architecture." Walter Briggs held the cassette tape in both hands for a moment. He ran his thumbs across the surface of it the way a person reads something they cannot see, learning the shape of it, the weight. "Thank you," he said. Barry White nodded. "Come to the next show," he said. "Front row." Walter smiled. "We'll be there," he said. Walter Briggs died 9 months later. His heart. The doctors had been right about the timeline, which is the worst way for doctors to be right. Ruth came to the next show alone. Front row, center section. She sat with her hands in her lap and her face toward the stage, and the seat beside her empty. Barry White saw her when he walked out. He stopped at the microphone. He looked at the front row. He looked at the empty seat beside Ruth. And he said, before the music started, before anything else, "There's a man named Walter Briggs who used to sit in that seat. He was a musician. He came to the front row because it was close enough to feel the music in the part of him that used to play. I'm going to play this show for him tonight. And I'm going to play it close enough that wherever he is, he can feel it." Ruth sat in the front row for 11 more years after Walter died. Every show Barry White played within driving distance of Los Angeles. Front row, center section, alone. Barry White always looked for her. He always found her. And every time he did, he played the bass a little deeper, the low end a little fuller, the music a little more physical, a little more felt than heard. Because Walter Briggs had taught him something in a backstage corridor in 1977 that no one else had ever taught him. That the most important thing a voice can do is not be heard. It is to reach the part of a person that used to play and remind it that the music is still there.